Football fans, we are live. NFL Draft Recap. It's April 27th, 2017. I'm back with my good friend and partner, Donnie Wright. Said Donnie, Philadelphia, great venue. Awesome draft so far. Really surprising draft so far. We're back to recap everything that went on. We were on a little bit earlier. Kind of gave a little bit of an update right after the Eagles pick. We didn't talk about the Birds pick, but quickly, Donnie, what have you thought of this draft overview-wise?
To be honest, I mean, I tweeted out earlier, one of the most interesting / bizarre drafts I've ever seen. And it continues right now. Just watching live, TJ Watt goes in the first round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know we talked about the first, 12 or 13 picks before. We'll start it up with the Eagles pick, but bizarre, questioning a lot of picks. Usually they stick to somewhat of a board, maybe one or two guys falls, but there's so much value, Jeff, we're going to get to even talking about the second round here.
Yeah, there is a lot of value. And, Donnie, we definitely went over some picks that, I got to be honest, I don't understand at all. Yeah. There were some really good picks. Like I mentioned, I thought Jamal Adams was a great pick for the Jets, a safe pick, a pick that they really needed as an organization. They've had some real fuck-ups lately in the draft. You also look at, a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who, I think for that team fits, something that they needed. But then you look at some of the more moronic things that were done. I mean, the Chicago Bears, who just lost, trade up to get Mitchell Trubisky at number 2. And the Niners say, you know what? We're fine with that. We'll take the third pick and take our guy, and we'll get a couple picks in the in retrospect as well. So you've had some real screw ups. You've also had Mahomes. Don't get me started on that. Just a really that pick again, Donnie. Let's just talk about that one more time. I don't understand why you take Patrick Mahomes if you're the Chiefs. Look, I know you need a quarterback, but does he really fit your system? Does he really fit what you're going to do with that West Coast offense? It's not exactly an up-tempo offense. It's not an offense he's comfortable in running. It's going to take a lot of time for him to learn that offense. And look, I mean, he's a guy that was very much in a system there. So an interesting move by Andy Reid in that organization.
Yeah, again, It's what you pay for what you get. It's the same way if you're playing poker out there, Jeff. You have pocket aces. You don't just push your whole pot in. You sort of draw it out, and where you take players and how much you give up for players is a huge regioning. Because if he turns out to be an okay quarterback, well, if you look back and you say, well, we were in the 10th spot anyway, and we just took them there, and that's what happens. You live with it. But when you make trades, give up first rounders, future first rounders, and the pick goes to be a bust or is not that good a player, it leaves you head scratching. And there was a couple of them. Again, I hate to get back into Chicago because it's just an easy whipping boy to beat a dead horse. But the same thing with them, flipping picks for one spot and giving up that much and getting a questionable player. He better work out or that whole front office, Jeff, is moving on.
Yeah, another odd pick was John Ross by the Cincinnati Bengals. I had John Ross going late. I thought he was like in one of the final picks. I thought he was like in that 30 range. I honestly could have seen like the Steelers taking him, a team like that. But John Ross to me was taken way too early by a team that I'm not sure they needed a receiver. Look, I'm sure he'll help them, but he's an undersized guy. He's not a guy that, has a ton of experience. He also goes to the Bengals. You look at them. I mean, they have Eifert. They have A.J. Green. They have a ton already. And I've talked about it, an inept organization that just continues to look really, really, really stupid. So for me, there were some really poor picks, but let's get into some of the picks that we didn't talk about, Donnie. Yeah. And it starts with the Philadelphia Eagles, our squad, our team. I mentioned before this draft started, I thought they would take Derek Barnett. I wanted Derek Barnett. I think this team is in desperate need of a pass rusher. They have not had a pass rusher in a long time. I remember last year constantly, Donnie, saying to you and to others, where the hell is the pass rush? You look at this defensive line all of a sudden, Fletcher Cox, Timmy Jernigan, Brandon Graham, and now Derek Barnett on the outside. Donnie, you look at Derek Barnett. You look at his career, last 3 years, 33 sacks.
Production.
32 tackles for loss. He's a big kid, 6'3", 260, 265. Big kid, going to come in and contribute right away. This is a vaunted pass rusher that this team sorely needed. And I know you can say they were like kids in candy stores. There was plenty of guys they could have taken. But the truth is, they have enough already offensively that they don't need to attack that right away. I think this fills a need right away, and I think you get one of the better pass rushers in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows what my feelings were. I mean, I loved Dalvin Cook, but it's apparent that, you know, when a lot of teams pass over somebody, sometimes you have to second. Maybe there's something that didn't leak out. Maybe surroundings that he's hanging out with a lot worse than anticipated that you don't hear back, because we always joke about, Jeff, the NFL is better than the FBI in finding dirt and information on people. I mean, they pay X, you know, FBI guys to just get after certain things they want to check. So something a little bit deeper there. The only thing I didn't want to see there is a reach on a cornerback. They didn't do that. I didn't want to see them trade down for more picks. They didn't do that. So when it all settles in, where there's a little bit of flashier names out there, like maybe a Reuben Foster or the defensive tackle from Alabama that you might have seen going ahead of them, but you can't get mad at this pick. This league is about getting after the quarterback, and it's priceless when you find a good defensive end. Productivity at Tennessee is off the charts. When you look now and you see the experts surrounding the wagons now, when you see what this pick actually is, watching more tape on it and really getting to know the kid, it's going to be a good pick with, again, I always like to say, Jeff, in the first round, it's about bustability. Very low bustability for this kid. The upside on him is enormous, you know, growing on me. Again, I didn't hate the pick, didn't love it right off the bat because I had my mind set on a little bit of other things, but the more it sinks in here, it's a very good pick for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and again, they had a major issue getting to the quarterback. They have had that issue, and you look at all of a sudden, their front seven looks solid. You have picks in the second and third round. You can attack the cornerback. This is a deep cornerback draft. You can look at maybe a running back, maybe get a Marlon Mack, a Kareem Hunt, a Deonta Freeman. There's plenty of options in the second and third rounds that you didn't have to reach at. I mentioned I wouldn't have minded them trading back a little bit because I think they could have, still gotten a really good player. For me, honestly, I would have loved to have seen O.J. Howard at this spot. I've mentioned how much I like O.J. Howard, but at this rate, I really like this pick. I know a lot of people, they got this pick and they thought to themselves, you know what? I don't know much about Derek Burnett, so I'm kind of numb on this. So for me, I don't know. I like the pick. I think they need this. It's something that we had to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was a couple, again, I'm always a doomsday type scenario guy. I got what I wanted out of this because I didn't mind. I would have been happy with another defensive tackle, would have been happy with the defensive end there with Barnett, would have been happy with the middle linebacker. If you went Dalvin Cook, I would have liked that as well. And again, you talked about it earlier with the Eagles pick there, Jeff, when you're talking about we really didn't need a wide receiver. If we got Corey Davis and he fell down or was at 14 and we got him, I would have been okay with the pick, but you can never go wrong. The same thing where Allen drops to Washington. I think it was a great pick for Washington. When you get a stud D lineman, Jeff, can you ever get mad at that? Is there ever like, oh, man, I didn't want that stud D lineman? Moron.
No, I mean it's never a bad pick. I mean it's always safe. So yeah, for me, I like this pick just fine.
Me too. And by the way, if everybody's tuning in here tonight, strictly we're going to be all about the draft of the next 15 picks that we're going to go over. The best part about tomorrow, when we come back on the right side of campus at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll spend a lot of time looking at NBA baseball, breaking down the cards. Because again, tomorrow, Jeff, on the Friday night show, we're going to get after rounds 2 and 3 again. So we'll spend the majority of our capping time that we like to do tomorrow on the right side of campus. But for tonight and tomorrow night, we're going to go heavy on the NFL draft, and it's a lot of fun to go over, and we hope everybody enjoys it there and has some comments on the chat box as well. Muted, big man. Turn that mute key off. We need to hear you, big man. Still muted.
Yeah, Big Simon, sorry that this isn't interesting to you. This is what we're on here to talk about tonight.
I love it. This is one of the – I haven't been this fired up in a long time. I love it.
We've been asked to come on here and talk about this. We're excited about it. So, unfortunately, we can't make you happy. I'm sure we'll have to cry about that later. But maybe we'll get you in tomorrow. Sorry, man. Where are we going next, Donnie?
No, let's keep it moving. Pick 15, Malik Hooker from Ohio State to the Colts. Any defensive help, any secondary defensive help. Love the pick there. Love it.
Yeah, no, it's another good pick. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Ohio State cornerbacks or safeties. I'm sure you can't go wrong with one pick, which we'll get to. But yeah, Malik Hooker, solid safety, going to help this team right away.
Yep.
Another very safe pick here. Good idea here.
Yeah, pick 16, just getting the same type of players, which safe picks, low bustability to me. Marlon Humphrey, cornerback, Alabama, goes to the Ravens. That just sounds like a Ravens pick right there, which they're going to come to play with their picks. They're not going to trade up, trade down, get, real, let's just take Jabril Peppers because he's a playmaker type of player. You take the solid player to position right where you're supposed to take them. Good pick for Baltimore here from me.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because that's just what they do defensively as far as drafts.
Yep.
I know, they're a team that, they drafted, Ronnie Stanley last year, really good pick. They've drafted C.J. Mosley before, who is an Alabama guy. But you look at their secondary. They bring in a corner, Brandon Carr. All right, I mean Jimmy Smith. He hasn't really translated into what maybe they wanted. So yeah, a safe pick here, an Alabama guy, never a bad pick. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then get to pick 17, which again, the NFC East, getting better and better and better across the board. Washington, even though they had that big their turmoil with the GM here, came up aces with pick 17. If you're going to tell Washington, at pick 17, you arguably going to get maybe the top 3 player in the draft falling to you. Now, maybe some of the medicals Jeff didn't check out there with Jonathan Allen. Maybe just that stigma of Alabama players in the draft maybe being a little bit worn down, but love the pick there. Again, it's the same mantra. Boy, I'm really upset we picked a stud D lineman. Watch the tape on Jonathan Allen. Check out the background on Jonathan Allen, the way he gets after it. I hate to say it, but I love this pick here for Washington.
I had Jonathan Allen going 3.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, his stock fell today for sure. I mean, it was 3.5 or 4 last night, and it went up to 9, under 9.5 today. So his stock definitely went low. But yeah, I mean, a really safe pick. Not a guy I want to see 2 times a year.
I mean, it's going to be a.
I agree 100%. This is a great pick. Ryan Kerrigan, those kind of guys getting older. Defense is always a good option for the Redskins, and this is great value at this point.
Yeah, next one up on the board. I know the kid's talented. We all watched USC football a lot. He's a playmaker there, but it always gets back again, Jeff, to playing poker. I like the pick from Tennessee. I like the talent of Adoree Jackson. I think he could have waited on that pick there, to be honest with you. And I think there was more talent on the board. I didn't think you had to reach in that situation, which I believe they did. I know, hey, it can all be aces after a while for him, but I just think they reached a little bit here on this pick.
Yeah, I think he's more of a second-round pick, which, I could see him, early 40s maybe. But, as far as reaching, I mean, look, he's a guy, as far as for Tennessee, they need secondary help. They also, it's never bad when you get a guy that can return the football as well. He's a really exciting guy to watch return the ball. He's a must-see guy returning the football. Maybe he's return-wise a Devin Hester type. You can also good cornerback as well. They need help. Is it a reach? Yeah, is it a reach? Probably. I would have looked more along the lines of like, a Tre'Davious White, something like that. But, again, you're getting kind of a dual kind of guy, someone that can return kicks as well. I don't quite know exactly their return situation, but it's always good when you can get someone like this. And he's a pretty damn good cornerback as well. So they addressed a need. Is it the guy I would have taken? No. Yeah. But you throw him, in that cornerback slot. I think you got a guy that can start for a number of years.
Yeah, pick 19. If you watched Late Night at Campus yesterday, I thought O.J. Howard would have been a sensational pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I really, Jeff, no idea thinking that he would have slipped to that spot.
Yeah, real quick, good point, tennis boys. I would have looked more, Kevin King, Tre'Davious White, a little bit more proven name. Good point by Tho Marino. Adoree Jackson did get abused in that Penn State bowl game. But, again, Adoree Jackson could be a star.
He got hurt in that game too, didn't he, Jeff? Did he twist the ankle up to the knee, the lower leg in that game? I think he did.
I believe he did. Yeah. He is an electric returner, but again, that was in college. We'll see how that translates to the NFL. Go to 19. O.J. Howard, yeah. Yes. I mean, you talk about an I told you last night, this is my team to look out for in the NFL this year. I like I like a lot this Tampa Bay team. This team defensively has some really nice names on it, some really good football players, some tough football players.
Vontae David, great defensive line. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Robert Ayers, several others, Golston. This is a good football team. And
McCoy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
you look at the offense, Jameis Winston, Mike Williams, Deshaun Jackson. Now you throw in O.J. Howard with Doug Martin.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you what, they might be the team to beat. And again, I know Atlanta's there, but this is a good football team. They're going to win a lot of games next year. And O.J. Howard, I'm telling you, Donnie, is an all-pro for a number of years in the league. I think.
And I just like the overall thing also, Jeff, when you have the young quarterback, the young improving quarterback like Mariota and Winston are in that same caliber. Wentz will be a little bit down the line, a little bit behind the curve right now, but you can't ever fault them by saying, you know what, quarterback, you're going to lead us here. I'm going to stack another weapon on top of you to help you out. I love it.
Yeah, agreed, totally. And, it's a good, solid pick. As far as tight ends are concerned, he's clearly the best in the draft.
Yep.
Definitely not a reach. This is a really solid pick. And the thing I like about him is he's more of a tight end. You look at Evan Engram, who the New York Giants took.
Yeah.
I don't understand that pick, which we'll get to. But
yeah, we'll get to that. Yep.
If you're going to take a tight end, this is the kind of guy I want. Someone that can at least block. You got to do some of the things that a normal tight end's going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Next pick on the board, exactly what we thought would happen here with the Denver Broncos. They go mean, they go nasty, they go offensive line. It's the biggest need they had on the team was to restock that offensive line. I like to pick a lot. And the funny thing I get a chuckle out of, as soon as I hear an offensive tackle, he's an older guy, he's 25 years old, one of the older guys drafted. I just get terrible flashbacks of Danny Watkins for the Eagles, but this kid's completely different. No. He wants football. He lives for football. When you hear the kid talk, you can hear the emotion in his voice of how much perseverance in his life and how much he needed football in his life. And he got through it and he's here to prove a point. I love that as opposed to the guy who's, I'm big, I'm strong, I'm happy, but I really want to be a fireman. I mean, that's another date, another time there for Danny Watkins, but I love the pick there for the Broncos.
I mean, I might come out and say this might be one of the better picks in the draft. And I think Garrett Bowles is one of those guys. I think he's a John Runyon type of player, a guy that will last in the league for a long. Mm-hmm. You look at this kid, 6'5", 300. That's a big
and you see the type of brand of football that Utah brought last year, smash you in the mouth. And
exactly. I loved it. Yep. You look at the way he plays, he can pull. He's just a really he has some mistakes, but most offensive linemen do. You're not going to get a sure-proof player. The things I like about Garrett Bowles is he's 25 years old. Okay. He's a guy that's, I don't know how much you know about his story, but
yeah, I do know.
He has a really interesting background. Kind of reminds you a little bit of a Michael Sam type. Kind of troubled. He gets rescued kind of by a group, a family that helps him, and kind of.
He was like Michael Sam times 4 because Michael Sam we talking to Sam. I'm talking like even the Michael Orr character.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Michael Orr. I'm sorry,
Michael Orr. Yeah, same thing. Like he was. This guy was him times 5 just with bad attitudes. Did they say 5 schools he got kicked out of?
Yeah, he was expelled. I mean, his dad kicked him out, and his family kind of rescued him and put him on the right path. And I've read some things about him. He's all about youth and just kind of he's just a great guy. He seems just kind of on the straight and narrow. He seems focused. And look, when John Elway drafts you, he's going to put a lot of time into that pick. This is what they needed. They needed offensive line help. I like this pick a lot. I had Ramczyk going here, but this is a great pick nonetheless.
Same train of thought, mean streak, rebuild the offensive line, can't get mad at that. Pick 21, Davis, the inside linebacker from Florida. If you watch Florida's defense, they got after it. He got after it. And I know, Jeff, we knew they were looking at linebacker last night. Davis was on the board. I know you were high on him as well. Went almost exactly where I thought he would go, somewhere in that mid to lower 20s, a playmaker. He should be able to step in with Detroit and play right away. I like the pick here.
Yeah, I think they were hoping Hassan Reddick would drop a little bit, but he didn't end up dropping. I would have probably went Reuben Foster if I was them, but obviously Reuben Foster has struggled and dropped. But you look at their linebackers; they have literally nothing at linebacker. This kid's going to come in. We all know Florida has a really good brand of defense. They're well coached down there. I think this is a guy that could come in and help them right away. They had to draft a linebacker. This is a nice pick here. I don't know if it's what they wanted exactly, but I think he was best available for them in this spot for what they needed. As far as a reach, I'll be honest. I think the biggest reach was Patrick Mahomes for the team he's on. I don't really get that at all. Reach wise, John Ross, I think was.
I got another reach coming up later that we're going to talk
Yeah.
about who went late 20s.
Yeah, there were plenty, but John Ross definitely was one. John Ross, a good receiver, but I didn't think he would be a top 10.
Yeah, I don't even know if John Ross would have been so much of a reach, Jeff, if we just look at the team that actually reached for him, which, it's like if you have two good cornerbacks and you reach for a third corner, you say, I don't really know if we could have allocated those resources somewhere else on our team,
As far as Corey Davis, Peter, we talked about him earlier. Listen, I think he's probably the best receiver in this draft as far as pure skill and want, but he was also was fairly high. I like the pick, though, for them. They need weapons. I thought they would go more along the lines of an O.J. Howard, but Corey Davis is going to help them right away. That's a great pick. I think I know where you're going with the reach, but if you don't, I'll bring it up. Is it coming up here or?
It's not the next pick, but it's coming up.
Okay, I think I know where you're going. Let's go to the next pick, the 22nd pick. The Miami Dolphins select Charles Harris. Charles Harris is an interesting name. He was fairly unknown, Donnie, for a lot of the year to most people. Really kind of
the team stunk, so you really didn't pay too much attention,
Right, but one thing you have to know about Missouri, very good defensive team, and for God's sakes, I mean, you look at the Miami Dolphins, another team with major issues at linebacker. I mean, when Kiko Alonso is your best linebacker, you have some issues. This is another guy, kind of a low-level name that maybe most people haven't heard of. I would have went more along the lines of a safety here if I'm Miami, but I don't hate this pick.
I don't hate it either, Jeff. It's funny. He went probably where we thought he was going to go. Harris was the guy that actually scared me, and I was hoping that the Eagles wouldn't maybe overreach because we did see some mock drafts out there that had Harris going to the Eagles at 14. He was, other than me, my staunch defense against cornerback because there's a ton of them later on and trading down to, accumulate more picks. That was actually the guy that scared me at 14 for the Eagles if they were going to go opposite, what I thought.
He kind of has the Malcolm or the Marcus Smith feel to him, to me. I don't know why.
Yeah. But the one thing is that, Missouri's produced a lot of really good defensive ends. Kuligowski, the coach there, is now actually at the University of Miami now. So, if you're going to come from that bread line winner of being taught, very low bustability because they've had about 6 or 7 kids, I think, since like 2008 that have done very well for themselves, first or second round picks under Kuligowski, who's now at Miami. So, he's trained to be the part. So we'll see. And again, it's a low risk move if you're the Dolphins. When you take a kid who puts up some production coming off the edge there, it's kind of hard to bust, even though they did bust on the kid from Oregon, 3 or 4 years ago, which Chip Kelly wanted to take for the Eagles. Deion Lewis was the name there that was escaping my mind. So hopefully that replaces it. Deion Jordan, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I hear you. And they've produced some good NFL players. I know, we will laugh about Michael Sam, but Michael Sam was a good player. He was a top level pick. But yeah, they've done a lot of good things in the draft. I like Missouri. I like that system. And they need help at linebacker, so I don't hate this pick. The next pick, I think could be one of the worst in the draft, honestly. This is a terrible pick by the New York Giants. If you're going to get a tight end, which I like the idea here, I don't like the guy they picked. This is a third-round pick, if you ask me.
I love the measurables on Evan Ingram.
Sure.
He's and the guys that I hate in the draft for the most part, and again, it's not just, if you hear me and Jeff talk off the air, we argue about a lot of stuff. So it's not like, we're predestined to say, hey, we hate the Giants, we hate the pick and whatever it is. Because you saw me, I loved Washington's pick. Thought it was fantastic. Looking at this pick here, the Giants needed so much more. You could have rebuilt the offensive line. You could have rebuilt maybe one of those linebacker positions on defense. One of these stretch tight ends, the probability of them dominating. Oh man, look how fast he runs and does all this stuff. Everybody runs fast in the NFL. I need a more polished type of player. I thought Njoku would actually be an even better tight end than Ingram. Is there upside on Ingram? Absolutely. But for the Giants, they're loaded at wide receiver and pass catching targets. Why go out and target this guy at 23 when you could have improved yourself across the board where you really needed help?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like you said, if you're going to take a tight end, I like the idea. I'm going Njoku here. There's no other person I'm taking here. or I get the pick, but I don't understand who you picked. It doesn't make any sense. How are you going to fit him into what you're doing? I guess you throw him in the slot. I don't know. You can't be serious. I mean, is he being serious, Donnie? He thinks when do the Bears have 1 year to win? What? You
They
can't
got
be
like
serious.
15 years to win the way they're rebuilding.
What is this? 2008?
Wait, what was the question? What was in line for the question, though?
He's talking about he thinks that he said it earlier. I saw it on Teddy's show. He was mentioning that he thinks the Bears drafted and got Trubisky because they're 1 year away and they're ready to compete now. You can't be serious with that.
No, because that's completely opposite of what they want. Obviously, when you take a young quarterback, you're not ready to win. And also, if you're taking a young quarterback, wouldn't you say, we're really going to target Trubisky? Hey, let's not lose our best wide receiver at the same time when we're ready to win.
If you're a Bears fan, you're an extreme delusional fan. I mean, 15 years down the road, maybe they can compete. I'm saying the coaches and front office because Bears can't put Sanchez on the field. Okay, I get that, sure, but
now when you sign a guy, and especially Jeff, we're not talking about like a Peyton Manning coming out of college where he had like 40 starts. Like you're talking about a kid that started 13 games, now being elevated to the NFL, which the learning curve is ridiculous for a quarterback as it is. So,
here's my thing on quarterbacks this year. If you're so concerned about a quarterback, you're probably not going to be good this year anyway, even if you do draft a quarterback. So why not just suck for 1 more year and get Josh Rosen next year or get Sam Darnold next year? I mean, as far as quarterbacks are concerned, I mean, you can play. Didn't you just get Mike Glennon? I mean, wasn't that
and spent big money on Mike Glennon too?
I mean, this team's just backwards. If you're a Bears fan, I feel really poor for you. I mean, I feel real bad for you.
The McCaskey family's been kind of odd for decades and decades and decades. I mean, a major market team like Chicago. There's only one football team in Chicago, and you would think they spend like it's
Let me say one more thing. If this was the move to impress and say the front office did their job, they definitely failed. I don't think this is going to help the front office at all. At all.
I see where I mean, if you do draft a quarterback, you do kick the can, but in the NFL, that can only get kicked so far. It's not like, Pace, the GM, had unbelievable success.
Why did you play Mike Glennon then? Why did you play Mike Glennon then?
That's the same thing we could have ripped last year with the Eagles, where they're out there, spend the money on the worst backup contract quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life when you had, holes all over the field. But thank goodness, Wentz, we're able to go up and get him, and he looks like he's going to be a good quarterback, so he sort of made up for it. But the signing last year of Chase Daniel, absolutely, I wanted to hang myself.
But the thinking pattern here doesn't make any sense. If you're the Chicago front office, you're basically plugging a hole for a year. Why not just keep Mike Glennon in there? I don't get why you would waste and give away assets for a pick that is already a reach just to appease your front office for a year. You're not going to win anyway. Why
what would have been the big deal for them, Jeff, too? What happens if you said the Chicago Bears, all right, we can trade up and get Trubisky, who's going to be – hopefully he turns out for him because otherwise everybody's going to be going to the front office. But why not sit at the 3 spot? And if Trubisky does go 2, which there's no way in my mind he was going number 2 to the 49ers, maybe he falls to you at 3 and you don't have to blow up, picks and future draft picks. Or maybe you sit at 3 and go, you know what, there's a couple quarterbacks on the board, whether it been Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. Trade back, stack your own deck, then get the quarterback. And if you said, you know what, at 13 or 14, if your quarterback didn't work out, you say, hey, traded back, took a shot, but we recruit our draft picks and we'll try again. But the fact that you moved up 1 spot when I don't think Trubisky was going 2 anyway to the 49ers, it just compounds everything. That's all.
Yeah, I don't understand this pick. I don't understand the thinking pattern there. I feel like if you're going to be bad this year anyway, what's the difference if you have Mike? I mean, Trubisky's not going to go in and start. I mean, why not just wait another year? I mean, is this really that?
Yeah, the only thing on the wait another year thing, which is kind of interesting, which, in this, the Sixers, being fans of them, we wait every single year, hoping for the pick. We ended up getting Ben Simmons. It worked out. But it's kind of funny. Like last year, you would have told everybody, Jeff, they would have had to fold up shop, quit on everything because Deshaun Watson was going to be the number 1 overall pick. Right. Everybody's high on Darno. We've seen quarterback stock go from here to here. Yeah. So it's a little bit different in the NFL. But I agree. I'm not a huge Mitch Trubisky guy, and I'm certainly not a huge guy if, I'm trading up and wasting picks on it either. So
yeah, we look like we have a great game here coming down to the wire down in Memphis. We'll keep everyone updated on that. Looks like a good game coming down to the wire. I want to just backtrack quickly, Donnie.
Yes.
Zach Jones, our fiery leader down in
Mhm.
Costa Rica,
Yep.
mentioned about Mike Williams, and I think that's a pick that is interesting. I think for me, I would have targeted more in the secondary if I'm the San Diego Chargers. But I will say this: I do like that pick in a way. Philip Rivers has a number of years we could say left. You have a pretty good running back in Melvin Gordon. You have a group as far as wide receivers that is injury prone. I like the Mike Williams pick. I could see that really working out for him. That'd be a nice little tandem there. They're a really good offense. I'm hoping and wondering what they're going to do in the second and third and fourth rounds. They need to, like the Eagles, shore up that secondary. And in a division that's up and coming, but I think it's still pretty open. Oakland's good, but are they unbelievably good? I don't know. Denver's rebuilding a little bit. I think the Chargers kind of a sneaky team. I want to see how they drift down the road here, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see what happens. Good point, though, on Mike Williams.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't mind the Mike Williams pick, but I would have loved to see them go defense. I just think
Sure.
Mike Williams we had Mike Williams going in the top 10. I thought he would go, round that 9 to 10 area.
Well,
When there's a run on wide receivers, though, you do start to panic.
Donnie, I think the problem was, I think they probably wanted Jamal Adams. And I actually had Jamal Adams going 7 to the Chargers.
Replace Eric Weddle. Yeah.
But I think once that kind of went off the board, they thought, you know what? Mike Williams, because Corey Davis had went off the board at that point as well. Let's get the next best thing. I like Mike Williams. Good player. I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder for sure, especially missing that year over his junior year. Good kid. Kind of just does his thing, doesn't talk too much. Will be a nice weapon for Philip Rivers. Let's get back to what we were doing. But, yeah, the Evan Engram thing is just I'm just lost with that pick by the New York Giants, which I don't mind it either. So
yeah, and I preface it by saying I hope it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it not working out. I hope the Giants just sit in neutral for as long as possible. Next pick, an interesting move by the Cleveland Browns. Yet another interesting move. They go with Jabril Peppers here, which
24.
Oops, sorry, Gary and Connolly to the Raiders.
Yeah,
two straight interesting picks here. I guess the Raiders are kind of in the feeling that, like many of us, I think we all agree, the whole rape thing is moronic. I don't think that ever happened. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And from what I understand, they've been in talk all week with the criminal attorney and all sorts of different things. Listen, it's definitely taking a chance here because you possibly may waste a pick to a guy that may go to jail. You're definitely towing the line here, but they must know something that we don't. Look, Gary Connolly is a steal if it works. If it doesn't, then you're in trouble.
He's a top 20 talent. So if you're looking to pick in that slot at 24 and he was still on the board without any,
they're either going to look really smart or really
stupid. Yes,
and they're going to look like the typical Raiders.
Yep.
And listen, judging by their history, they're probably going to look like typical Raiders here. Would it surprise you at all Monday if Connolly's arrested and booked for rape charges? I mean, really?
No, because it could go either way, and it's still a stigma too. Like, what happens if this drags out in court? Like, what happens if the chick is so nuts, even if she didn't do it, they go to court, and it's going to set the trial in November, and he's got to appear like Kobe did in Denver for like 3 weeks. Like, and your teammates, hey, where's Conley at this week? Well, he's got a rape charge. He's got to defend it.
I hate to laugh about it, but it's like that's just Raider football for you. I will say this, Donnie. I mean, I think we're kind of all forgetting the fact that, like, even though he may not have raped anyone, I mean,
where is your head at?
Days before the draft, you're cruising for foursomes in your hotel room with random women on elevators.
And they've all been to like symposiums at their college, what to do, what to look forward to. Look, you are now a target. Let's say you come back and some girl comes out of nowhere and wants to take you back to your room.
So, hey,
lights on, like, wait a second. This is what they told me not to get involved with. I'm about to be a millionaire.
So, hey, let's send him to Las Vegas, where I'm sure it'll get even better for his career. But look, I will say this. I don't mean to joke about it. I do think this is a problem in our country as far as, unfortunately, we have the stigma of being young men. I know for me and for anyone, anyone can say anything. So it's a shame for this guy. You just need to make sure you're not putting yourself in this position. But you know what sucks, Donnie, about it? If it's all not true, it takes away from a great experience for the young man. It takes away, just a great night and all sorts of stuff. So it's a real shame. I hope it all works out for the kid, to be honest. The Raiders are a team that I don't mind doing well. I can do well. That's a good fan base. 25, the Cleveland Browns, a brutal fan base and a brutal organization.
And a brutal pick on top of it.
Yeah. Look, I like Peppers, liked him in college. I wonder where he translates to the NFL. And if it's any indication, it probably won't be anywhere because it's Cleveland. So,
again,
I have not much to say on it.
This is a luxury pick that Cleveland has here, right? This is the type of pick you take, when Seattle comes off a Super Bowl and you say, you know what? Let's throw a switchblade in there, and if it works, it's a bonus. But if it doesn't, we're stacked anyway. This team stinks and is devoid of talent, and you're all about stacking up draft picks. Right, stacking up talent. So let's go out and get a kid. We don't know where he plays. Yeah. We hope he works out, and it's a first-round pick and has a high bust probability. What are the Browns doing?
No, I hear you. I totally agree with you. This is a typical Browns pick. For a team that can't waste picks, we're just going to take a flyout on some random guy that A, has no idea where he's going to play in the NFL, and B, had some character issues coming into the draft. It doesn't make sense to me. To be honest. And again, this is Browns football for you. It doesn't surprise me. So for me,
people on the board, and it's not I know White, we were high on his cornerback with LSU, goes 27. Taco Charlton goes 28. Reuben Foster ends up going 31. You have a plethora of other players. If you're the Browns, you need people that it's called plug and play, not let's get this guy and let's just see where he fits in. You can't do that if you're Cleveland. That's a first-round draft pick that you're expected to have as what? At that position or at corner or safety, a 5 to 7 year player that you hope is going to hit maybe a Pro Bowl or two on the low end at that pick. But yet you go for a guy who you don't even know what his position is. You can get away with that at Michigan or anywhere in college because athletes are athletes. When you get to the NFL, everybody is an athlete.
Right, and again, I loved him at Michigan. I want to preface this and say he's not at Michigan
anymore.
He's
a great college player.
I don't. Right, and again, I mean, he wasn't exactly a ball hawk. He wasn't exactly a guy that I believe will be a hard hitter in the NFL. It's just an odd pick. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We had a point about Malik McDowell. I'm sorry, from Michigan State, which. I'm not really sure why he was at the draft. I don't think he was a first-round player. Unfortunately, it's just going to kind of delay the inevitable.
They might still walk out. Tomorrow's prime time too. I think the NFL is a little bit more open. He'll probably walk out tomorrow or whatever in the second or third. No doubt.
And I got to tell you, I think Malik McDowell is a good player. I think he's a guy that will be a second-round pick. I think he's a Ezekiel Ansah type of player, maybe a DeForest Buckner. I could see the Jags taking a shot with him. I think the Jags are void of a defensive tackle at this point after Jared Odrick left. I think that'd be a good fit for him maybe. He'll get drafted in the second round. I've heard comparisons to Mario Williams with him. Just a guy that works hard, a dominant player, and he could be dominant. He could be a real steal and coming from a good defense. So, I think he's a second-round player for sure.
Yeah.
Where are we going next?
Let's go move on to I didn't spend enough time on Jabril Peppers again. I don't understand it, especially coming from a Cleveland point of view. But we head over here to the Buffalo Bills on the board, selecting a cornerback that we were looking highly after and wondering where he was going to finish up on the board, and that would be White from LSU.
Yeah,
I don't have any problem with this. You had to replace cornerback at Buffalo, so that was a position of need for them. So more than taking best player on the board, they needed that guy.
Right. You pair him with Ronald Darby, you have two good cornerbacks. I mean, Ronald Darby, good player out of Florida State. Little bit, had a tough year last year, but still a good player. You pair them two together, you got a nice group of cornerbacks there. I like Tre'Davious White, obviously from D-back U there. I don't have a ton on this pick. I think it works. I think it makes sense. I like this pick for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, 28, moving over to the Dallas Cowboys. Taco Charlton, D-end. Again, I'm not going to get mad at a team that, like the Dallas Cowboys, who obviously need some defensive help, want to stack that pass rush a little bit. Taco Charlton's a really good pick here for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they didn't get flashy, and ever since Stephen Jones, the son of Jerry Jones, has been more of that draft room influence, you've seen over the past couple of years, Dallas is getting better at drafting, making smarter draft picks, less bustable draft picks, and it's paying off. I like the Charlton pick here at 28.
Yeah, I mean, I had him going up a little early. I was kind of really high on him. Yeah, look, I mean, it's never a bad pick when the Dallas Cowboys take someone defensively. I mean, they've had a lot of, I remember last year just a ton of names that no one's ever heard of. They seem to have good years, but yeah, I like Taco Charlton, a guy that can blitz the quarterback. He's a good run stopper, and a safe pick. I don't think this pick's going to hurt you. No character issues. They have a tendency, unfortunately, being the Dallas Cowboys, to take shots with people and just kind of draft people just to draft them. You always hear every time a big name's going to come up that maybe if it's a character issue, well, Dallas Cowboys will take him. This is a safe pick. It addresses a need, and I like Charlton. I was high on him. I thought he'd go a little bit earlier even. A good pick for the Dallas Cowboys here.
Yeah, real good pick. Again, pick number 29 coming out. A solid pick here for the Cleveland. So for the Cleveland Browns, I'll give him credit. Dave Njoku goes there. You get a nice playmaker. The only question is, again, who's going to be throwing him the football? But then again, it all gets back to last year when you say, I want to take more draft picks. You never know how it works out. How would you like Cleveland if they entered the draft tonight and they didn't have the number 1 overall pick, but they already had Carson Wentz? And they were hanging out somewhere around 12 or 13 and were able to go somewhere else and maybe even trade back. And instead of getting Peppers, they picked somebody else and still got Njoku. I would feel much, much better about Cleveland's future, but I like the pick in Njoku, athletic tight end that can make plays. That's the next wave in the NFL. So I like where they went here. But again, who's throwing in the football and where is it going to end up?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't like this pick here. I don't think it makes much sense. You already have a good tight end, Gary Barnidge. You have, unfortunately for them, receiver's not a real position of need or playmaker. I mean, they have some playmakers. I would have went running back here. I would have went, secondary here. You can never have enough secondary players. I mean, Ed Reynolds is your starting safety. And I know, again, a bad pick from Jabril Peppers, but I'm not sure why you come back into the draft to draft a tight end. Not really sure this is a need they should have filled. Again, another odd pick from the Cleveland Browns, I think.
Yeah, next up on the board, surprising pick for me. Steeler, not where he's actually going to be playing with the Steelers. Outside linebacker T.J. Watt goes to the Steelers. Just one of their typical, it seems, Jeff, to me, almost every year like clockwork. They take the best available linebacker and make him a plug-and-play type guy. I thought, an interesting pick. I thought T.J. Watt would go later, but we'll get into the guy who went just behind T.J. Watt. That guy would have been a Steeler for me.
Well, but again, I mean, this is what the Steelers do also. I mean, I've liked the way they've went in the last couple of years with some of these linebackers they brought in. Brought in Ryan Shazier, drafted Tyler Matakevich last year. You kind of have a need. Another linebacker makes sense. Obviously comes from really good bloodlines. Look, this is what they do. They draft linebackers and secondary players. I think this is
a lot of jerseys in Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, you will. And, this is yet another Watt we have to deal with. But yeah, I like the way they've went lately. You look at their linebacking group, Donnie. Bud Dupree, Ryan Shazier, T.J. Watt, Matakevich, James Harrison.
And the old man, yep.
For me, though, I would have went more along the lines of secondary, which, again, they can address late. Their secondary is not exactly someone or a group that I'm interested in. I could have seen them taking a tight end, to be honest. They don't have much of tight end. Heath Miller's not walking through the door. I don't mind this pick.
Yeah, Vital says on the chat box there, so can you guys tell me, do the Bears throw that kid out there to the Wolves? A lot of rookies start nowadays. Initially, he's not going to because they're going to play the card the same way the Eagles last year. Vitalis tried to play the card that Carson Wentz isn't ready. Well, this is a big money business. And if the Bears open up 0-5, they are going to be beating the doors down and throwing chairs on the field to get the young kid to play. He will play next year. They'll try to play it off how he's going to re-sign Glennon. He's going to sit behind Glennon. He's going to learn behind Glennon. Well, when Glennon's 0-5, Glennon's going to the back of the bus, and Trubisky's going to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, they'll play him at some point. Are they going to? Is he going to start? Probably not. The concern you have nowadays with quarterbacks is like, is it going to be Jared Goff, where he's just not prepared whatsoever at all under any circumstance? Listen, the guy only started 13 games. I mean, we have to come to that realization. We don't know though. We could think that Trubisky could be Brett Favre. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, we'll see him because the Bears suck and. Mike
And
Glennon
everybody
sucks
loves
also.
the new young first-round quarterback. They always want to see that kid get in the game, no question.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be 2-14 probably. So yeah, of course he'll be in.
And the next pick in the draft, we're only one round deep here, Jeff. Gotta say, John Lynch, and I'll come clean on this. I laughed when he got the job as the GM. I heard all his pep talk, rah, brick by brick, and we're going to do this the right way, and we're going to be transparent, and we're going to work really, really hard. God damn, John Lynch, you did work really hard. You did put in work. And to get Reuben Foster at 31 to go with Solomon Thomas and a bunch of draft picks, Jesus Christmas.
Yeah, here's the problem, though. You still suck on offense.
But
your offense is
they
brutal.
know they're going to stink on offense, but you can only start like at the bottom. That couldn't have went better for them.
Well, no, you remember their offense or the defense a couple years ago. I mean, it was really good. I mean, back, 3-4 years ago, back when they were making NFC
Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman and, Alden Smith. I mean, they're building something to try to get back this because if these two picks work out, and again, I always like to talk in the first round about bust factor. I don't see Reuben Foster as a bust, and Solomon Thomas is as far down as a bust as you could possibly get.
I mean, you got to think about it. I mean,
and they picked up draft picks.
Think about this defense. I mean, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas up front, Navarro Bowman, Malcolm Smith, and Reuben Foster.
If only Chip Kelly could have hung on a little bit longer there.
And you look at the back end, Eric Reed, Jimmy Ward. I mean, Jaquiski Tart, I mean, a good player that played in Seattle for a number of years. Eli Harold, who they drafted out of USC. I'm telling you what, this defense is really good all of a sudden. The problem is,
my favorite game in football, a couple of years ago, my favorite game in football was the 49ers and the Seahawks because they played a brand of football that is a throwback to like 1972. I hope they can get back to that level and reestablish it. But goddamn, MVP. I know it's early and they both could get hurt or not work out, but MVP of the night is John Lynch for the 49ers.
And also, if this is any indication of what we're going to see from the rest of the draft from this group, they're going to get a lot better quickly. Defensively, they're impressive so far, what they've done. I want to see what they do for the rest of the draft. But again, improving. John Lynch looking good so far. I will say, though, Reuben Foster kind of fell into his lap. I can't believe he went so late. I'm blown away by that. Yeah, this is it's a good group right here so far. We'll see what happens.
Good pick to end the first round there with Ramczyk, the offensive tackle from Wisconsin, going to the New Orleans Saints. Anybody big, physical, mash it down, protect your best investment, which obviously is your quarterback there. I can't hate on it whenever you go offensive line because you win on the offensive line and the defensive line. I think that was a pretty good pick there, knowing that they already picked up a very good cornerback to help them in their secondary. So I think it's a pretty smart move there for the Saints to go offensive tackle.
Yeah, quickly, we got a brand new guy came on, like the draft talk. Appreciate you subscribing, my friend. Thank you for checking us out tonight. I hope all you guys enjoy the draft talk. But yeah, Ramczyk, a guy that I thought would go a little bit earlier. But yeah, I mean, they fill another need here. Look, Marshawn Lattimore was a great pick. I think that was one of the more underrated picks that we saw in the first round. A really good filling of a need. And yeah, I mean, I'm never mad at a big ugly up front. So, I mean, you look at that offensive line. I mean, the Jari Evans and Jermon Bushrod days are over. You need to kind of address some things on the offensive line, and they did that. I mean, you still have Zach Streets there, Andrus Pete. This is a good pickup. They needed depth. They needed a offensive lineman. Really good player here for them out of Wisconsin.
Yep, absolutely. But that wraps up the first round, the NFL draft. A lot of fun, a lot of excitement. The best part about it is you get to rehash and relive it. I know a lot of people like the Saturday, Sunday, where you went from 12 in the afternoon till 8 o'clock at night, finishing up all those rounds. I believe it was like the first 4 rounds or 3 rounds they did. I like this much better because it gives us a chance to rehash and to look ahead and get a clean example. So if we take a look, Jeff, just people on the board that you didn't think would be there at this point. I know you liked Forrest Lamp. He's staring somebody in the face, and make no mistake about it, a lot of the times now with this new setup where the second round begins a day after, people clamor for that first pick in the second round. I'm going to look for some activity overnight because there's some playmakers out there that are on the board that you could take advantage of.
Yeah, there's a lot of playmakers. I mean, you mentioned Forrest Lamp. I think Garrett Bowles really kind of in the last 24 hours really went quick and really flew up the draft boards. But yeah, I mean, a guy like that, you also have Deshaun Kaiser. Where will he end up? Don't forget about Davis Webb. Some teams are going to need quarterbacks. Then you really start to get in. This is the meat of the draft coming up. All the lights are off, and now you really start to draft for really guys that you think can help your football team that you need. If you follow college football like we do, it'll be nice to see certain people get drafted. I know for me, seeing a guy like Kareem Hunt, I know you and I, Donnie, really like Kareem Hunt.
Yes.
It was nice to see Corey Davis get a little shine for once. He had such a great year. It was funny, though, watching some of the highlights that they do. Remember the Buffalo game on ESPN, the College Game Day game?
Yep.
I remember seeing that. Just, little things. There's some great moments. But as far as tomorrow, I think if you're the Cleveland Browns, I think you have to look at getting a quarterback. I mean, at what point are they going to face the music and say, we have failed year after year with this position. We have to address this. At some point, you got to make it happen.
Reach on it though, and just go after somebody, even if you don't know, even if you don't like it. I mean, there's so many good players that are like the Dalvin Cook's playmakers. Cam Robinson's out there, Quincy. You have Tease Tabor, Jordan Lewis. I mean, guys that can really get after. And how many times we hear tonight by John Gruden, Buda Baker's still out there. I mean, guys that can make an impact right away for
King
you.
Also.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Don't forget Sidney Jones. Someone's going to get him at a high value in the second, third round. Someone's going to take a chance with him. He went out with an ACL, but he's going to be, those three kids from Washington, really hard-hitting players. I like Jordan Lewis. I mentioned that. I think as far as, Donnie, quickly before we go, I'm going to give two players that I think long-term will be the best players in this draft. I think Leonard Fournette is an all-pro. I think eventually he'll be one of the best running backs in football. I just think he lives football. He just looks like football. I just think everything about Leonard Fournette is all business. And for once, I agree with Tho Marino. I really like Fournette a lot. He is a really exciting guy that, if you're a Jaguar fan, you have a really electric player. I also mentioned O.J. Howard. But, yeah, there are a lot of names that we'll all recognize coming up. So I'm excited. This is my favorite part. The games are just kind of the icing on the cake for the NFL. This is kind of where I really enjoy. I'm excited about it. Jeff or Donnie, do you think the rumor of Cousins to the Browns is legit? No, I don't. That was actually disproven pretty quickly.
Yeah, I saw that coming out. I thought that was kind of interesting. But then again, what would you actually be giving up at this point now? If it hasn't happened already, it's not going to be maybe next year's first rounder, I guess, because they have two. But if you're the Washington Redskins, do you just throw in the towel next year? What would you have been able to do or gotten back? Or who would have been your quarterback if you're Washington? So.
Right. By the way, someone's asking about Jay Cutler. I don't believe he's been picked up.
No, he's still out there. Yep. I like the rumor that got floated out that he's thinking about retiring, and his agent's like, that's not true.
But if you're Jay Cutler, why not retire? I mean,
exactly. He's probably banked, in the bank. He's probably got $50 million tax-free in the bank from hundreds of millions he made.
You have a net worth of $50 to $75 million.
Yeah, there you go.
Your wife's hot. She comes.
You got kids. You got a family. You can just be,
I mean, go get like a medical marijuana company. I feel like he'd be good at that, like some kind of medical marijuana or something. Do you think the Cowboys tonight had 2 first-round picks tonight in a way with Jalen Smith? Yeah, good point. I mean, that's an interesting point.
I'm interested to see that Jalen Smith because I'm always the non-believer in the NFL. When you get a guy, again, with Jones out of Washington, I actually, if you're going to take a 5th-round pick on him, I get it. But how high they picked up Jalen Smith last year, I didn't agree with it. I still don't agree with it. And I know they're saying, hey, he can finally lift his toes. Well, I mean, this is the NFL, and that injury is a very serious one that he had. So whether or not he can play, I mean, they'll tell you behind the scenes, oh man, looks great, never looked better. I can't even believe how healthy he is. Well, put him out there on AstroTurf or turf fields, and we'll see how much that leg is actually firing. If it works out for him, it's genius, but it's such a low, trajectory or low chance of that working out. I never agree taking a player that high. I don't care if he was supposed to go in the top 10.
I mean, he kind of changed the game, as far as, going forward with guys. You remember Christian McCaffrey kind of didn't play in that bowl game because of that concern.
No, you're right.
Really,
absolutely.
That really opened a lot of people's eyes as far as that's concerned. Donnie Wright said you can get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers currently at 5 dimes, 18.5 to 1 to win the NFC. You can get the Tennessee Titans at 22.5 to 1.
If you look at that division, one would think that Carolina would bounce back. The loser of the Super Bowl has proven to have a down year. And then you're looking at the New Orleans Saints, who, you get a little bit of a mixed bag getting up there with Drew Brees. So if you want to pick a team in the NFC South that's on the come, it's Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm really high on them. It's funny, as we spoke, I'm looking at these odds. It's kind of enticing, man. Great stuff. This is something I really enjoy, so it's fun to talk about this stuff. We'll be back on tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern. We will go over the baseball card. We have a big Friday schedule coming up. Obviously, plenty of new series. Quickly, Donnie, before we go, nice to see Masahiro Tanaka with a fantastic outing.
How about that bounce back? Yeah, there you go, Tanaka.
And how about again, the Boston Red Sox get a nice start from Chris Sale. He gets no run support. Couple other games of note. You were at the Phillies game today. They get a win.
Yeah.
But did you stay to the end?
5 in a row. Well, here's how my day
went. I know
went.
you didn't because you were.
Made sure I went down a little. I have a 5-year-old daughter.
Right.
Went down, made sure we got down about 45 minutes early. Showed her the seats. That lasted for a couple minutes. Walked around, got a hot dog. Went back into our seat in the first inning. I saw the Phillies bat in the first inning, and I didn't see another pitch the rest of the day. It was Rita's Water Ice. It was ice cream. It was playing on the Jungle Gyms. It was seeing the Fanatic. And then it was, Dad, I'm so hot and sweaty. It's really hot here. Can we go home? In the 5th inning, I said, sure, honey, we can go home.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way because, again, most people out there, I'm an older guy. I'm just about 40 years old. But those type of situations, and you guys will learn out there if you don't have a wife, a family right now, is amazing that sound where you just say, hey, I'm at the Phillies game. I want to watch the game. Hilarious to watch little kids interact, how much fun they have when you take an interest and take them to a ball game, when they first see the stadium, when they first see the Fanatic, and they don't give a damn about the baseball game, but just that overall experience was a lot of fun for me today.
Donnie, you're starting to have me tear up. I'm all soft side of campus, as Zach just. No, you know what, Donnie? I remember when you were telling me you were going to the game today, and I thought to myself, I would admit that would probably be tough, wouldn't it? To take a kid, especially kids just want to get up and run around, and I'm sure she probably wanted to run the field, and
Yeah, we hit the Jungle Gym place like 4 or 5 different times, right. And it was never, hey, why don't we get back to our seats and let's watch the baseball game? Because if anybody has a little kid, getting them to sit down for 3 minutes, let alone for she couldn't even sit down for a half inning, and I sort of got a chuckle. I'm like, all right, let's just get busy. We'll walk all Ashburn Alley. If you've ever been to Citizens Bank Ballpark, it's a fantastic stadium, very fan friendly. So we had a fantastic time. She came home and crashed out and took a nap right away.
How many times did you hear, Dad, baseball's so boring?
Not even that. I was trying to explain to her, the pitcher and the catcher. Look, Hellickson's going to throw a pitch, and that lasted about 30 seconds until it was like, Dad, I'm hungry. You just had a hot dog. I'm hungry. I want ice cream. I want water ice. I'm like, hey, let's get after it. So yeah, that was my day, and I got a nice little red face from it as well.
Yeah, I noticed you look like your shirt you're wearing there.
Yeah, it's funny because I could have played it off as if the Eagles had a terrible draft pick. I could have just well, this is how pissed off I am, but I couldn't play that angle.
Yeah, no, you can't really hate it. Quickly, Donnie, I do have some breaking news here.
Yes,
that I wanted to get to. Michael Pelfrey's on the mound tomorrow, and it's actually a pretty nice price. Detroit -140.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back into baseball. There was a little bit of a shorter card, and leaving for the game today, I didn't just want to throw a pick out there that who knows if it would have won or lost. But everybody out there, if you follow me on Twitter again tomorrow, I'll put a video out tomorrow. We'll find some W's. We'll get after it again.
Donnie. Bartolo Colon and Mike Pelfrey on the same card.
Oh, boy, that's your dream
Oh,
matchup. You go to sleep
I'm in
thinking
a.
about that matchup.
I'm already gonna bet. I'm betting the Brewers right now. I don't even give a shit. Brewers all day. Brewers against the Braves. Wee.
No, but we had a
Man.
great time tonight talking the draft. And again, tomorrow we're going to get after it on the right side of campus at 12:30 p.m. We'll break down that entire large baseball card. We'll go over NFL, or excuse me, we'll go over NBA action. We'll get some soccer picks out of the big man. But again, tomorrow night, a lot more draft to go over. We might pull another all-nighter again for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, soccer was brutal today. I took 2 overs. We didn't see a goal in either game. Brutal. Donnie and BMOC, I know you don't do Thursday shows, but I want to say thanks. I appreciate it, Kyle. Appreciate you listening, man. We love doing this. I'll be honest, I could sit on here till 3 a.m. and talk about this stuff. So I know Donnie, has a life to get to, but yeah, I could talk about this stuff forever. But appreciate it. We'll be back on 12:30 tomorrow. We'll go over the baseball card. We also will be on late night, 10 o'clock. We'll go over everything that happened in the world. We'll also talk about Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua. Andreas Hale will join us from Yahoo Sports. He's going to come on and have some fun with us and talk a little boxing. So plenty to do tomorrow. I need Juventus tomorrow. So do I. I actually need them to win. I'm a fan. So we'll see. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll chat about everything going on. Have a great night, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern.